Well, it seems it was only inevitable that this was going to happen. But it was announced as of 48 hours ago, courtesy of Variety and other outlets, that Amazon-MGM Studios, and Hasbro Entertainment are going to do basically what a lot of fans at one point looked at as an April Fool's joke way back, in 2014-15. Yeah, Discovery Family, when it was known as the Hub, or just transitioning from the Hub to Discovery Family, now known as DF Kids, or something like that, DFG Kids, they decided basically to pull a prank on a lot of fans by saying, hey, there's a live-action series of the MLP coming. Now, of course, they basically came out and admitted it was all a joke, but that did make people wonder, would that day ever come? Now, of course, there is a scene in one of the Transformer films, I think it's the second one, or the third one, or maybe Bumblebee, I gotta go back and look at it, but it has a scene where basically a toy Rainbow Dash is converted into, through some nanobots and everything, Cybertronian technology, converted into a weapon. And that scene got people curious too. Could it happen? Well, lo and behold, like I said, about a couple days ago, it came out that MGM Studios, Amazon MGM Studios, Amazon-MGM Studios, and Hasbro Entertainment are going to make it a reality very soon. Now, we don't have a release date as of yet, or a release year, but it is in the works. Now, we don't know what the story will be. We don't know who's going to be directing or producing, who they're going to get to voice the characters, but it's got people, kind of intrigued. Because now the question is, should they fully go through with this? Because there's a good chance they could say, nah, it's not worth it, let's not do it. It's one of those properties that, if we do it, it's going to bomb. It's going to bomb, very badly. So there's a chance that could happen. But remember, they did say that in 2026, 2027, they were going in another direction, a different direction, a rebranded direction for MLP. Now, could this be part of that initiative? Possibly, if not more than likely. But again, it makes people wonder, because again, there's no story. There's no producer, director, whatever, screenwriter connected to it. No voice actors have been selected. No actors, actresses have been selected. So the question obviously is, from an open door perspective, the question obviously is, what is it going to be? Or what are they going to do? What is the movie going to be like? What direction and, potential generation are they going to take inspiration from? And that's a good question. Well, those are several good questions. Now, some have thought that, hey, it could be a rebranding of, G5 into G5.2, or G5.5, if you will. Some figure it could be, just G6. Some feel it could be G6, and it's a hybrid of G4 and G5. That's a possibility, too. Others look at it as possibly a take on G4. G4's possibility is very, very possible, seeing as though it's still very beloved by a lot of fans. And currently, right now, you have MLP on almost every day during the summer on Discovery Family. And you go to Tubi and other places, and you can find the complete 9 seasons. So there's that opportunity, there's that chance, there's that possibility. But the other possibility, some people might look at, is this could be a take, an inspirational, modern rebooted take on G1. Yeah. G6 could be basically a rebooted, revamped G1, but it'd be known as G6. And what is G1? Well, G1 is G1, I should say, is MLP. It is My Little Pony, but it also involves humans. It does. It also involves humans. Basically, the original G1, like I was saying, involved humans along with the ponies. The ponies were the central figure, but the humans were like I guess you could say, the bridging gap. So you had Megan Williams and her siblings, Danny and Molly Williams. So if they do go that route, if they make G6, or they start out G6 in this manner as a reboot, rebooted, modernized, take on G1, then that would explain the whole live action deal. It could. Now, is that entirely going to be the case? No. But it's, probably the more, some people would look at it, more likely direction they would go in, since it's the most, I guess you could say, feasible. I wouldn't say feasible, but more, like I said, it's probably the more, it's late when I'm doing this, I do apologize. But it's probably the more, not just likely direction and logical direction to go in, but if you're going to involve it in live action, and obviously you got to have human characters. So there is that possibility that more than likely G6 could be a revamped, rebooted version of G1, if not a hybrid of G1 and G4. And what I mean by a hybrid of G1 and G4 is you could have the main characters of G4, as the main pony characters, that is. You can have them in there along with Spike, but then you can have the human characters. You could have Megan, you can have Danny, you can have Molly, come into play from the live action perspective. But we'll have to see what they do. Now, there are many ways they can go with this. I mean, obviously they can go the recent Tom and Jerry route that they did with animated characters in the real world. They could do recently with Smurfs, the new Smurfs movie, which came out yesterday, will do. Where it starts out animation, then it goes to the real world. That's a possibility too. We don't know. We don't really know. I know some people are fearful that all we're going to get is just real horses or CGI hybrided realistic horses, basically representing the characters, and that's possible. And that's a possibility too. But honestly, right now, we don't know exactly what they're going to do. But if anybody was to take a likely guess, in my opinion, from my point of view, I think they would be looking at potentially, this being the starting point for G6, but G6 being a hybrid of G1 and G4. That's what I'm thinking. It's going to be a hybrid of G1 and G4. And you're going to have a little bit of G5 sprinkled in, probably later on, during the G6 run. But I think G1 and G4 are going to be hybrided, merged together to make G6, to where you have your main 6 characters, soon to be main 7, main 8, you get the idea, of G4, integrated as our main pony cast, along with the live-action humans. That's potentially what I think is going to happen. Now, again, could I be wrong about that? Absolutely. But again, we don't know. That's what's making this thing so interesting, is we don't really know what direction they're going to take. Now, they could say, hey, let's do My Little Pony the movie to kick off G6, but let's have it to where we take the inspiration from Equestria Girls, and we go that route. So in other words, G6 would basically be a situation where the ponies would live in Ponyland or Equestria, and if they have to go to the human world for some reason, they go through a portal, they become human. They could do that too, and that's probably how they would work around it. Again, we don't know. We don't really know exactly what, what the plans would honestly be, in my opinion. So there's many different ways they can go with this. There's many different ways they can go with this, but I think the only thing a lot of us fans hope for, us bronies, us Pegasisters, if you will, us as the MLP community, I think the one thing we're just hoping for is a good movie. even if the premise storyline wise looks ridiculous, even if they give us a star-studded cast, for the as the not just the on-screen characters, human wise maybe, if that's what they do, but also VA wise, like as long as they give it, even if they give us all that, and the premise is ridiculous and all that, as long as the movie is good, I think that's all that we're going to care about. Well, I don't think that's all we're going to care about. I know that's all we're going to care about. Is as long as it's good, we'll have no issue with it. No issue whatsoever. I mean, look, a lot of people didn't like the whole meta direction that they were going with Rescue Rangers with Disney Plus, and Disney and all that, and the Long Island Boys. They didn't like that, but that turned out to be a hit because it still stayed true to Rescue Rangers. It was just done in a more satire, meta kind of manner. And a lot of people do enjoy that movie, for being like in an alternate universe. Well, they still look at the Prime universe as, hey, we can decide who Gadget's with between Chip and Dale. Hey, I want to go with Gadget and Dale. I want to go with Gadget and Chip. We could still look at the show as the Prime universe and the movie as a meta satire alternate universe. If you get my drift, if you catch my drift. But anyway, like I said, not a lot of people thought it would be good, and they liked it. So I think that's what we can only hope for. Now, people have used an example of the MLP's cast cameo in that movie as, hey, it could be like this, it could be like that, drawn in the movie style, but just in the real world. That could happen too. We don't know. But we'll just have to sit back and see exactly what the next step is going to be. I mean, again, we don't know what the release year is. We don't know what the release date is. We don't know what the story is. We don't know what the VA cast is, the producer, director. We don't know any of that yet. But when we do, I've got a feeling this is going to be talked about a lot more. And you know what this also tells me? If Amazon-MGM is behind this, Amazon primarily, I think the new MLP G6 series is going to end up on Amazon. Something just tells me it's going to head there. I just have that feeling, because if they're stepping up to the plate and saying, hey, Hasbro, let's do this, we'll be the distributors, something tells me that they're going to be the streaming home for the next MLP series for G6 and all that. But let me know what your thoughts are. How do you feel about this? What do you think the direction will be that they will take? Comment down below, like the video, ring the bell for notifications, subscribe to the channel. Click on the links in the description to find my content elsewhere outside of YouTube. And also click on the Teespring store for merchandise you can't get anywhere else. But guys, give me your thoughts. How do you feel about this? What direction do you think they will take when it comes to this movie? Do you think we'll get a G1, modernized version of it, for, be as G6, and that's going to be in this movie? Do you think it'll be a do you think this movie will be that start to G6, but it'll be a hybrid of G1 and G4, maybe with a bit of G5? Let me know. Do you think it'll be a hybrid of G4 and G5? Let me know. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Or do you think it might be, where they take inspiration from Equestria Girls, but do it in a way to where basically the main characters go to the human world because of a situation, and then come back to the pony world, and that's how they work it out. Let me know. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it overall. But until next time, guys, I will talk to you later. And until then, God bless. Give me your thoughts, and I am out.